story is called Anime. I think it says flight, bus, food, Raycon, and JR Pass. Hi, Janet. Hey, Dad. Come for a walk? No walking. He says, I hear your friend Patty's going to school on the coast. And Janet says, yeah, she is. And Dad says, I guess she got a track scholarship? He says, yep. You enjoying living with the Masons? They have a nice basement? And she says, yeah, Dad, I am. He says, well, there's no shame in not being smart enough to get a scholarship. She goes, Dad, but you're 20 now, and you do not even have a plan. She says, I have a plan. And he says, I haven't heard about it. Kiki? Kiki, the tour's back. They want to know about restaurants. And Bistro 43 is on Colville Street. And the big broy tourist is saying, Colville's where? And she goes, oh, I can never remember. And the wife says, are you local? And he says, yeah. She says, yeah, I just can't remember. Goddess. And she says, we love your little town. And the guy says, I see it. It's right fucking over there. And his wife says, haha, we're already a little schnockered. And the guy says, I'm parking this at the garage. You got your cash? And she says, oh yes, I almost have enough saved. She takes the bus home. Hi, Janet. Hi, Mrs. M. She goes down into the basement. She says, Konnichiwa. My wife says, Konnichiwa. He says, I bought the airline tickets, so now we're just saving for food in the Raycon. I hope we're close to a subway line. Am I supposed to use Sacred Vine here? He says, I told you, unless it's a skeleton, never use Sacred Vine. She says, do you want to finish season 6 tonight? He says, sure. And they're watching. And she says, can you believe that we're going to be there? The next morning, she's making waffles. So I saw my dad yesterday. What for? He came to my work. It was so dumb, asshole. He was like, if you don't move back home, I'm cutting your allowance. The person says, shit, don't we need that? She says, no, we'll be okay with just my job. She's walking the bus stop. And there are 2 girls already there. They're saying, it's not even loading. He goes, is that Sakura on your bag? And you go, yeah. She goes, I wish I'd worn my Lee Shalrin's shirt. I have it at home. And they say, cool, so you watched the show? She says, yeah, I have it all on DVD. Oh, don't watch the American version. They localized it really badly. It starts with the 8th episode. She says, I didn't know about that. Really? Yeah. It was super controversial. She goes, huh. Well, the original version is always better, right? I only watch subs. But now that I'm learning Japanese, I barely even need them. Nihonjin desu ka? The girl says, I says, you're on the trike today. And she goes, crud. Because over there is the Haddle House. It was the first brick house in town. The lady on the back says, I thought that was the hotel. She says, the hotel was the first brick building. Are we headed back to the B&B now? Yes. You know that it's that way. And she goes, I'm pretty sure I get around this way. Dirt? Okay. And she's waiting. I actually was a pedicabist for a while. And this next scene is verbatim. And these 3 14-year-olds come up and says, can you give us a ride to Safeway? She says, my limit's 2 passengers. They say, we can give you a big tip. Riley's dad is a doctor. Yo, FYI, we're all really blazed right now. Shut the fuck up. I say, can you go any faster? Brian, you should be more sensitive. They're just assholes. It doesn't matter. Does your mom know we need a ride to the airport on Sunday? I think. Okay. And it does too matter. Okay, Jesus. I think that's where I'll cut it there, so that you read the book.
I've always just been like a really big fan of engineer pencil stuff, and that's really difficult for me because I always just wondered like how you prepare for that, because like it seems just like you just got it out and like you didn't like prepare for it. So like how do you like what's your process?
Well, it's really different. I got into most of those stories, except for the Meadow one, were drawn with pencil, which is, if you're not, which is kind of like an atypical way to draw comics. Usually you would do pencils and then draw inks and then erase the pencils so it looks all clean and high contrast. The first pencil comic that I did, I was on an airplane ride back from this comics festival in Italy, and I was just like, I was so like enthralled to these like Italian cartoonists who are all these kind of amazing like really buff old guys. And they're like sort of painting their comics on like giant pages the size of boogie boards with like a brush like that they just like they dip their whole hand in ink and like flop it around. It's like it's very macho and but like also really expressive. And I had just been I was still digesting all that visual stuff, and I really wanted to try and imitate that, but the only materials I had were like a little like 05 mechanical pencil and a moleskin. So so in order to sort of imitate that like brushy expressiveness, I just started drawing really tiny.
Yeah.
And I do this comic called Hawaii 1997, which is in the new collection. And each page was, I mean, usually the pages that I've been working on were like 17 inches by 14 inches. And this one was about 2 or 3 inches tall. And so I really didn't have very good control of it. And that comic I was just drawing straight onto the page. And you can tell it's like very messy and loose. None of the comics that I showed, even the pencil ones, were that loose. All the ones that I just showed, I would do one pass with pencil on like nice paper, and then I would use a light box to trace over that to get a more sort of finished look to it.
Cool.
And just using the graphite for like line quality.
That's really cool. I'm impressed by that.
Thanks, dude.
How do you prepare the pencils for print? Because you don't work in that hard black and white.
Yeah.
What you said for the metal one, but like I was just wondering, like, if you want to run it through a press, what do you do?
It's really, I haven't figured out a consistent method for that yet. Like you can see actually those, because I have pretty much all those minis over there on the table. The new Uncivilized book that Tom and I did is really soft. It really looks pretty much like the originals do. So the paper is kind of gray. Other books in there are very high contrast, and you can barely tell that it's pencil at all. It's just like straight black and white. But yeah, in general, process-wise, I'm a terrible cartoonist. Like I don't usually know what I'm doing, and if I happen upon something, I just try and repeat that mistake. But I don't have any good technical tricks. Yeah.
Can you talk at all about the sort of two-tiered, top-to-bottom approach you use on something like anime, like either how you came to it or what you think it does for you?
Yeah, well, there are like a couple things that I like about that, because you might have noticed I use that a lot. One thing I like about that panel to page ratio is that it's very cinematic. You're only working in wide panels, like landscapes or something. And I think that, especially if you're reading it on the internet, which a lot of these were originally published on the internet, there's something about having the information come at you only in one direction, like from top to bottom, so that your eyes really aren't having to parse like two panels next to each other with different information. There's something about the way that reads that is easy for me to read, and I think facilitates a more like immersive experience. It's also just fast. Like, it's a really fast way to do a 70-page comic. And sometimes I mean, that's something you're supposed to be sort of embarrassed about and show how you just like bust ass all the time and like are the most hardcore, like masochistic workhorse. But I'm not ashamed to say I enjoy drawing comics as quickly as possible. And one of the things that you can do to achieve that is 2 panels a page.
I was noticing that a lot of your protagonists are female presenting. I was wondering if there was an intentionality behind that.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think a lot of my early works had dude protagonists, because I'm male identified, and that's sort of, you know, when you're starting out, I think it makes sense to be writing, you know, I feel like one of the things I've been trying to do as a writer is move outside my own perspective as much as possible, and that's like a good direction to like mature in. But it is intentional. I don't know if I'm doing it right yet. I think that in like 10 years or something, I'll do like this short story that feels like, I don't know. I don't like the word authentic, but authentic. To like the voice of someone who's not like some straight white cis dude. But, yeah. I hope it doesn't come off as tourism or anything, but it is like an intentional choice.
Yeah, I guess I've noticed kind of a recurring theme in a lot of your work that's like, I like the way that you work with time and space, in that like when you're doing conversations between people, they really tend to show little snippets that seem far removed from each other, but then like you have this thing where you are going back into nature, and then suddenly it becomes really like instant by instant, and I think that's really cool, and I was just sort of wondering what motivates that, or if you do it on purpose, or yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as swapping back between, like, because comics are such a weird bastard medium, you know? Like, they're not quite literature or fine art or cinema, but they can draw influence from all those other storytelling mediums. I sort of think of those, what you were saying about how it starts with these, like moving between these snippets of conversation that seem to be moving through time quickly, and then dropping into like one moment explored pretty much in real time.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of think of that as like comics is the only medium where you can like fuse like pause a short story, like a short piece of prose to show like a film clip. That was kind of what I was trying to do with that.
Cool.
And it's, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like, it's important to me to try and make comics that feel like they could only be comics. And I think that's one of like the cool little tricks that you can do. Am I shouting at you guys? Am I my voice is reflecting that I'm a very lovely guy. It's just like, I don't know if I'm using my indoor voice.
Speaking to that, I wanted to also mention that Sam just recently started doing storyboards for Adventure Time. So you know, your last answer kind of talked about sort of a film clip within the comic, and a lot of your sequences are very, very animated. You can almost like make them into a flip book or something if you. So are you into animation? Were you into animation when you were younger? Like, what's the relationship with comics and storyboarding, and can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, no, it's actually, I've just been one of these like single trajectory people since like day zero, pretty much. Like I was always gonna draw comics. Like I was gonna like be Bill Watterson's best pal, and like that was the goal. And the only time I ever deviated from that at all was like in 8th grade when I thought, oh, maybe I'll do animation. I'll try animation out. And animation takes so fucking long that I was like, I need like the next most bullshit art form. So I went back to comics. But yeah, actually the story I read, Hollow, with like that kid running out of the beach and like throwing the rock into the ocean, I drew that right after I'd come off of this Adventure Time storyboarding freelance. And one of the weird differences between like a visual storytelling in an animation storyboard and in a comic is, in a comic, you're sort of, I mean, not that there are rules about how to do comics, but it's kind of considered a good thing if you can be really sparing in your images, and if you can suggest the most narrative with the fewest number of panels. And in animation, you have to be really, really explicit about everything, and show every single thing that a character, like every single moment in a character picking up a mug because some like 19-year-old in Korea is going to have to copy that, and they don't have the context. I think Adventure Time is shipped out to Korea for animation. I don't feel good about it. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, I think I'm too much of a control freak to ever like give myself over to animation forever. Like, I'm gonna be working on that show again, and I might, but I don't know but comics will always be the thing that I do because that's where I get to be the boss. I'm not a team player.
Yeah, I think a big thing that I saw in your work was when you were talking about, I can't remember which one it was, but the camera followed inside the house. And I noticed that like when they were on the beach talking earlier, it kind of seemed like the way you put your scenes in, it's like you see this camera kind of like shaking back and forth as they're walking, the frame of it, and like, is that a big thing? Like, do you visualize kind of like your characters almost real, like acting out the scene when you're drawing? Like, is there a big like cinema influence, you said?
Yeah, totally. Thanks for asking me the camera question, camera guy.
Yeah, no, that's because when I think of mine, I think of the camera in there. So do you see like these characters, or do you kind of like try and fit in scenes, or does it kind of naturally arise when you have your characters kind of walk through?
Yeah, no, I'm actually thinking of it very. I used to work on movies. I was like a PA on the first Twilight, and it convinced me to like never work in film, and some like cooler movies, but not really. But yeah, I think like I'm always thinking about like the acting, because I'm like you really do have to sort of think of your characters as actors, and like certain scenes you like want to play it cool with them. Like there was in the original like thumbnails for that scene, there was just kind of a lot more business. Like the weed got like picked up by the wind, or like the little baggie did, and they had to chase it. And I kind of had to take this like actor's workbook approach to it and be like, that's just something that you're doing so you can show off the body language here. It's not actually furthering the scene. I think the way in which I think of like the camera is like it's like a fantasy camera, like you don't need to set up like a boom or anything. You don't need to like you can just set it. You can do whatever kind of tracking shot you want. Yeah, I don't know. I lost the question now. I'm just keeping
No,
going.
I also just want to comment that your visualization is really strong. Like that scene work was really like I could feel that kind of like atmosphere because of the way you were placing everything. That was really cool.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah. Movies are such a pain. Movies are bullshit medium number one.
Yeah.
It's like seriously the worst movie you've ever seen. Like it's such an insane amount of effort and like talent went into it. Like the smartest people in the world had to rig the lighting for like Daredevil 2 or something. And like it's just the fact that a movie like clocks in at like over an hour and you can tell what's going on is just like a miracle. Right? Well, I got some books over there, and I can sign them and do a little drawing for you if you want. You can maybe like set up the table somewhere.
Yeah, we can try that.
Thank you.
Thanks.